Cool. Thanks, Catherine. Good morning, Marcia and Chris. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. Awesome. I still haven't figured out how to get my picture to show up on here. It's very weird. Chris has got it figured out on his end. Okay, anyway, all right, so let's get going. You're already recording. I gotta get better at this. I know. Let me grab my book. Sorry, I was running late this morning. I'll have to edit this afterwards. Okay, so today is the 7th of January. All right. All right, now I'm starting. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I'm broadcasting to you from beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here with my friends Catherine and Marcia and Chris, and today we are going to talk about how to get rid of guilt once and for all. And the reason we're talking about this is because we're studying the Tao Te Ching as interpreted by Wayne Dyer in his book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And we are on verse number 51. And I thought it was talking about guilt. Now, however, or not necessarily just guilt. One idea that popped into my head was it was really your way that you could eliminate guilt. So anyway, but before we get going on this, I want to give everybody else a chance to introduce themselves, and then we can jump into the discussion for today. So guys, go ahead and jump out and introduce yourselves.
Good morning. It's Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and it's been a beautiful morning. When the sun hit the mountains this morning, it was all pink, so it was really beautiful. I should have gotten out there and shot some pictures, but I didn't. It's cold out there, but I'm glad to be here. This is a beautiful verse, and thank you for making the meme with it on there, Samantha.
Sure. Good morning. Hi, I'm Christopher Camp from Chicago, and I'm glad to be here.
Marcia, you can introduce yourself too if you'd like, sweetheart.
Did we lose her?
She might have stepped away from the phone. Marcia Sortino is here with us this morning.
Yeah, I saw. I heard her when I jumped in. Awesome. Well, I just put the link in the Facebook chat. I think Sandy's going to join us too.
Hey, I'm sorry. I was muted and I didn't mute myself. But anyways, this is Marcia Sortino from Boston, Massachusetts. I have been away from the group for a while, but I'm glad that I'm back here today. And it is a beautiful morning, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcia. Sandy, jump out.
Good morning. Good to see you all. Been a long time. And as always, the chapters are in line, so I have to go back over the other ones too that I missed.
Awesome. So glad to have you back, Sandy and Marcia. It's good to hear from you again. And okay, so today we're talking about verse 51 of the Tao Te Ching. Who wants to go ahead and read that verse?
I can read it.
Okay.
Let me get over here where I can see it. All right, verse 51. The way connects all living beings to their source. It springs into existence, unconscious, perfect, free, takes on a physical body, and lets circumstances complete it. Therefore, all beings honor the way and value its virtue. They have not been commanded to worship the Tao and do homage to virtue, but they always do so spontaneously. The Tao gives them life. Virtue nourishes and nurtures them, rears and shelters and protects them. The Tao produces but does not possess. The Tao gives without expecting. The Tao fosters growth without ruling. This is called hidden virtue.
Thank you, Catherine. So guys, what came up for you when you read this verse? What was the first thing?
Well, I'll go. Yeah, I had underlined one sentence here that popped out at me. So give without expecting and don't be victimized by the expectations of others. Well, that's in the commentary part. But yeah, as it says in the verse, the Tao gives without expecting. And that's sort of something that I've been working with over the past month in my own journey, just seeing where I have these expectations in certain ideas or relationships or just throughout my day, just really looking at where am I giving and expecting something in return, and how can I shift that so that I'm just giving because I want to give without having to expect something. Because a lot of times those expectations, get us all in a funk sometimes, because we expect something, and then if it's not returned to us, then we may shut off our giving. And I've noticed that in myself. Like if I'm expecting something, then I feel like, well, I'm not going to give any more then, and it's so, when you look at it that way, it's like, that doesn't sound right either. So really it's interesting, because I think in our society, it's so much of that, like giving with expectation. And so it's so ingrained, and trying to peel that away is, I find, so difficult. So those are my thoughts for now.
Anybody else want to jump out?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. The first thing that came to my mind was how we're all connected to everything in the universe, and basically the idea of interconnectedness came to my mind. We're interconnected with everything that we do, with our world, with the fact that there's a relationship with everything around us. The clothes I have on, somebody made them. Just everything in our universe, we are all interconnected as a species. That's the first thing that came to my mind, is how we talk about independence, but is that really true? I mean, true independence means that we're interconnected with each other to make to get into that flow of energy, to make life what it is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Marcia. Yes, we are all interconnected. There's no doubt about that. I think you find that, or at least I experience it daily with groups of people like this one, where I'm in a mastermind, and we wind up keying in on the same things on the same days, like it's the same thoughts flowing around within the group or something. I don't know, it's pretty strange, but I love it. I love how it works. I don't understand it, but I love it. And so when I heard this, it's a time of year when I'm sort of looking back, at what I did last year and what worked and what didn't work. And I'm always an observer of like leadership quality, people who I consider to be showing good leadership skills, and then those that show me the leader that I don't want to be, and then like I'm trying to find my way in the midst of it. And I completely understand where you're at, Sandy, because a lot of times we think that we're giving freely until that 300th day in a row or something, and nobody's giving back, and then all of a sudden you're like, what? And that's when you realize, oh, I had expectations. when I did that, and it's really something to learn to get rid of, because like you said, it can mess you up. It can take you completely off track. And I think I've learned this lesson the most with my son, because he lives in a very economically depressed place, and he's got kids, and he's always struggling for money, and he's really kind of afraid to step out and do the network marketing thing. But it seems this week, it seems God has forced his hand, actually, because he got a letter. He's got to pay $400 a week in child support. And like, if they take that out of his check, he doesn't even have enough to drive to work. So it's, he's got to do something else. But, there were years there where he was, completely independent and stuff. And then he got into this place where he just needs assistance a lot. And we sort of have this deal, okay, but you're going to pay me back, and then something happens and it doesn't get paid back. And that's when I start to see what you're talking about there, Sandy, where I'm like, oh, I didn't get that back, so now I don't want to give anymore. But what if it was like a real, true, just life happens situation? So it is, whether we're doing it for monetary rewards, whether we're doing it to just be recognized for what we're doing, or whatever our reasoning, it is very rare, I think, to find people that give completely without expectations. I know that's something we all strive for, but I think if people are honest about it, there's not as many as we might love to have. I hope we continue to work on that, and soon we all have enough money, it won't matter how much we give to everybody.
Oh, I want to welcome Jason. Hey, Jason, welcome. Glad to have you here too. And but Catherine, that brings up so many different aspects of that, of the expectations, and in my thought is because, of course, you've got the you're giving and you're expecting him to do something, whether it's pay you back or get himself out of his rut or whatever it is. But then you probably have these other things that are like the outer stuff that's like trying to tell you what you should or shouldn't do relating to this situation too. Like we've heard the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And if you teach a man to fish, then he can fish for a lifetime. If you just give him a fish, he eats for a day. And so we have these kinds of things, but these are really just beliefs, right? When we look at this verse here, and it talks about the Tao giving without expectation, and just it keeps giving and keeps giving and keeps giving and never stops giving. And so then we have these different things going on in our head going, okay, well, if I keep giving, am I really helping him? But those ideas that maybe we are, or maybe we aren't helping, or maybe we're contributing to the problem or whatever, those are all these human ideas. They aren't part of the Tao. And so I think that it's interesting that to really kind of dig down into some of these things that go on in our head relating to expectations, because when we start digging down, we realize so much of that stuff is all just this human ideas. It's stuff that we made up as we went along, and we decided that this is what the rules were going to be. But then we look at stuff like this and we realize, okay, well, we can change those beliefs. We don't have to keep going down the road of, feeling guilty because we're giving too much. I mean, how much sense would that make, right? Or, feeling like maybe you're making a mistake by giving too much, rather than just following your heart and doing whatever feels natural and not worrying so much about the expectations either that you're expecting or the expectations you think someone or the rest of the universe is expecting from you. So that was thanks for bringing that up, Catherine.
And I have struggled with that aspect of it, because you're right. You can look at it. It just depends on how you look at it. I have to go by what my heart tells me. And I've tried, I pulled the tough love on my kids, you know, coming up. They weren't necessarily spoiled. We were too poor for them to be spoiled. But you know, I've tried that in this situation, and he's really trying. Like, he's really trying. And I don't know if he has a freaking curse on him or what, but the kid just has, you know, bad luck or something. And he, when I talk to him and I hear the amount of stress that he's under, it just feels better to help right now. I don't know what else to do. Like, I've tried not helping, and then I just cry, like, until I help. So it's called self-love too. I mean, I have to, you know, it's easier for me to give him the money, and it's not, you know, we're also working on other ways for him to make money. So it's we're trying to dig out at the same time. But you're right. I would make myself miserable if I listened to everybody else's opinion about it, probably. I just have to go with what feels right in my heart.
Welcome, Karen. Glad to see you made it this morning.
Good morning. The crazy thing is I get up before 4 o'clock in the morning, and then about the time I realize I'm too tired to do anything but to go back to bed, I think, okay, I'll just drink a ton of water and I'll wake up and I'll have to go to the bathroom and I'll be all set to go. Well, I was having a great dream. I was having a crazy, crazy, crazy dream, and I go to the bathroom and I look at my face and I've got this huge line in it, which I never have. So anyway, sorry, that doesn't have anything to do with the verse 51.
Marcia, did you want to jump out? Looks like you're unmuted, I think, maybe.
Well, I can relate to what Catherine just said about her son, for sure. I think because as a parent, it's really hard for us to see our child in pain like that, especially financial pain. And I don't even think twice about it, Catherine. If I feel that I need to help my child, I'm going to help my child, and I don't care what anybody else says. You can't really give enough. You can't really give too much to your children. I mean, they're your children. That my child is my child. I will do with my child what I want to. If it means that I'm not stupid enough to do something where I put myself in jeopardy, but absolutely, I'm going to help my child in whatever way I can, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it whatsoever. Because I think that's just a natural thing that as a parent, we don't want to see our children going through that kind of pain. And so we do step up to the plate. And I think that's just a natural occurrence that happens, especially with our children.
Amen. I agree with you, Marcia. Chris, did you want to jump out? No? Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I'll hop out. It was making me, I don't know if it was you, Samantha, or Catherine, someone made me think of like this, applying this all to relationships too, like these preconceived ideas in relationships. I'm going through that with my boyfriend right now. Like every relationship is so different, and we're always two different people coming together to form this other energy, and that energy is always different, that relationship that's in between the two people. And so, and everyone's usually coming with their preconceived ideas of what a relationship is and how fast it should go or how it should look or this or that, and the expectations. And then just seeing how, that's a big area where I'm dropping all those preconceived ideas that, like Catherine, you were saying, like it's somebody else's idea or society's idea of how something's supposed to go and what speed and when you're supposed to do this and what that and this, and really changing my paradigm around how it's supposed to be, because it's different for everybody and it's going to be different for everybody. So you have to go into every relationship completely open and without the expectations, because the expectations just kill it. So yeah, I've been really looking at that and dropping the ideas that I had in the beginning to really just go with the flow of the relationship. Because once you have these ideas, you're like holding on, and it's all becomes like this fear mode. When we have these expectations that aren't being met, it can create fear, and then you're putting that into the relationship between you two, and then it's like you got to clean all that out. And so it's all, just let it go. I like to do the Tao now, plan a day of letting go. Let go of thinking and discover the all-embracing nature of the mind. Let go of preconceptions and ideas and experience how things really are. Let go of needing to control others and discover how capable they really are. So take the time to find your answers to the question, what might really happen if I let go? And you may be surprised to discover that you find more of the hidden virtue in your life, which then changes the way you see yourself. So I like that. Let go. It's funny because this week I've been doing that a lot. Like when thoughts are coming in and they're just like, overwhelming, I'm like, just let it go. And I'm able to, in that moment, every time I'm like, let go, just let go. Like I'll be laying in bed like, okay, let go. And there's that space. And then things can come in that you want. When we're holding on to all these ideas and preconceptions, it's just the mishmash of energy and everything gets confused. So let it go.
I love that, Sandy. Let it go. That is true. I love it. So when I read this verse, kind of some of what came up for me was this part where it says, they have not been commanded to worship the Tao or do homage to virtue, but they always do so spontaneously. And then again, it talks about the Tao giving life and nourishing and sheltering and producing without expecting, and fostering growth without ruling. And what, the thing that came up for me, of course, when I wrote the little excerpt for our event page today, it was how to eliminate guilt from your life, or how to escape guilt for, and I think that what happens is that we get all these preconceived ideas because everyone else is putting these expectations on us. From birth, we're taught we're supposed to be a certain way, act a certain way, worship a certain way, talk a certain way, all of these different things. And when we don't live up to someone's expectations, whether that's our parents, our teachers, our friends, our boyfriends or spouses or whatever, is then we either we feel bad for not being what it is they think that they want for us, or they try and make us feel bad for it, right? And when we can let go of expectations, like what Sandy's talking about, when we let go of it, then we realize that we're the ones that have the control over that. We are the ones that we only can control ourselves, is what I guess that I'm trying to say, is that when you realize you're the one that has the control, then you also can let go of the fact that everything that is trying to control you has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with that other person or those other people or society or whatever. It doesn't have anything to do with you. You can only control the way that you act towards everything else, right? And when you can kind of see that and realize that, my opinion is that then you don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing. You only have to focus on letting go of your own expectations and then living the life that you want to live and doing the things that you want to do for what makes your heart sing. And I know that can be hard a lot of times, because we go through life and we have these situations that come up. And it's like right now I'm working, part-time job, and I just got registered recently to drive for Lyft And, you know, I got my husband registered to drive for Lyft. We just bought a car so we could do this. And I haven't started yet. And what's weird about that is it's just because I've got all these little random mumbo jumbo things going on. I've got business, taxes, trying to find an accountant, doing this and that and the other, and working and paperwork and this, you know, just a bunch of all these random things that have just kind of kept me from doing what I, you know, driving for Lyft. And I have this like little niggling thing in the back of my mind that my husband's like sitting there going, why haven't you started yet? You just got this car and that's why we got it. And you talked us into getting it. And you know, and all those things that come up, right? He hasn't said any of this, by the way. This is just me in my mind thinking that this is what he's thinking. And but it's funny because we go through that, right? How, you know, all these little things come up and we think another person thinks something about us and then we're worried, or maybe even somebody says something to us trying to make us feel guilty or feel bad. And, you know what, one of the things that also came up when I was thinking about that was that come back around. It'll come back to me. Dang, that's so frustrating. Somebody else jump out for a minute. Sorry.
No, I love what you said so much. It's like so in line with what I've been working on, like that we can only control ourselves, and whatever anybody else is doing or thinking is really, it's them, it's their stuff. And it's funny because just yesterday I had this situation where I was like, I knew exactly what my boyfriend was thinking, and that's what the problem is, and I know that's got to be what it is. And then it turns out it's completely not, and it never, everything I always think that it is, it never is. So it's like, shut up, you know, and just get back to yourself. I mean, really, ultimately, it's always just get back to yourself, because trying to analyze and think what else, you can never think what anybody else is thinking. So just that was right in line with what I've been thinking about this week. Thank you.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's true. That happens a lot. Yeah. You can't predict it. I don't know. It's hard to tell what people are thinking. You come up with a lot of thoughts. Therefore, all beings honor the way and value its virtue. I'm like, got to be more positive here, but I don't understand how all beings honor the way. I guess it comes up and acts as natural law, but some people are less honoring of it than others, it seems like. So, and I'm having a little misunderstanding about that. Like, I don't know.
I think it just means by being born, by being human, just by expressing our spirit selves as human beings, we are being the way. Because the thing that makes us think that other people aren't being the way is judgment, and God doesn't judge. So, you know, we judge as humans, but God doesn't judge what we do here. And I don't know, it's just very difficult to, you know, look at some of the horrendous things that happen in the world and think that there's not going to be some kind of justice for that. And I'm not saying that, I mean, certainly it does appear in my life what goes around comes around. And, but not always, you know, we don't always see that happening here. But I just think that all the judgment, you know, from my experiences and out-of-body experiences and things too, the judgment is just from us, and everything that is expressed here on earth, even though we may look at it and feel that it's horrible, at some level we have to accept that that is God expressing itself too, just as we are. So I know to our human brains it makes no sense at all, though. Mine anyway.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Catherine, on that. And at first I was sitting there thinking kind of the same thing that you did, Chris, is, how is that so? How do they worship the Tao and pay homage to virtue? And I think it's much more based than our human definition of those things. And I like what Wayne wrote a little bit about partway into the chapter. And I want to read this part here. And it says that imagine that begin to see yourself as a creation of the Tao. Imagine that the tiny seedling that was you didn't come from another particle, but rather from an invisible source. And this source that sprung you into existence, herein called the Way, has no perceived doctrine dictating what you should do, whom you should listen to, where you should live, or how you should worship. The source, your great mother, has no investment in the choices you make during your individual journey. It knows that the seedling that was you is perfect and free to complete itself in whatever way it chooses. This mother, which is the Tao, has no expectations for you, no demands, no battles or wars for you to fight, no history to live up to. And what I'm thinking along that lines is, of course, as humans, we're human and we have these human emotions and thoughts, and we come up with these ideas and preconceived this and that and the other, and we believe things, and it's a whole gamut of what it means to be a human. But if you are a tree, it's a little more basic than that. You get planted, the seed falls to the ground and it just grows, and it is beautiful and it's amazing. And there's nothing sitting there saying, if you grow this way, it's not going to be good. If your leaves aren't this color, you're not going to be good. If you don't, get this thick of a trunk, you're not good enough or whatever. There's none of that, right? It just is a tree and it grows. And by virtue of it growing, it is paying homage to the universe. It is worshiping the Tao. It is, because it just simply is. And we are the same way. Every tiny, itty bitty little aspect of everything that we are as humans, whether that's us sitting here telling ourselves to feel bad because we didn't do whatever so-and-so expected of us, that aspect of it, as well as us just being happy, being ourselves, and following our hearts, and being negative, and being grumpy, and every aspect that we can possibly be. Every part of that is who we are and what we're supposed to do. And by virtue of being human and being every aspect of human, we are, in essence, worshiping the Tao and paying homage to virtue, because we are being us, and that's what we're supposed to do. So that's what I think that it's trying to say there. It's not saying, you should bow down and worship the Tao. It's not like that. It's just be. Just simply be whatever you are. And that's you being awesome and amazing and beautiful and a light. And even the most crankiest, difficult people are being amazing, because they're amazing at being difficult and cranky. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And I think that this is one of the things that can help us really eliminate guilt from our lives and eliminate expectations, is just to gratitude, and we say gratitude is this certain way or whatever, but really it isn't. It's just being the love that is inside of us and allowing ourselves to be everything that we are, and being okay about it, and letting go any of the baloney that tells us that we should do anything other than what we're doing. So that's what
I haven't had access to the particular translation that Wayne Dyer used on this. A lot of times you'll put that right up there on the Facebook, and I didn't see that unless it was during my nap. But I did a lot of research on this last night, and I was really enjoying it and feeling really, really good about it, and would like to share something that brought Chris to mind for me. There was a group of what is called early women masters. And there were just lots of women, lots of different times, lots of their translations, and they were all kind of different. And by the way, if I haven't said this, I never found anything about guilt, and I actually felt really good about this whole thing because of all the different things about, therefore the way brings them forth, virtue nurtures them, grows them and rears them, matures and ripens them, nourishes them and shelters them, and then, does it without taking credit, without possessing, without controlling. And that's called a mystical virtue. But that was from a different translation. But this is the one that made me think of Chris. All in the universe derive from the primal integrity, the interaction of yin and yang. Yin and yang, that's what made me think of Chris. Shapes and nourishes them, and evolution ever transforms them in their endless ecological dance. Therefore, in its own way, every entity celebrates its primal mother, not out of any mandate, not out of any obligation, but solely as the expression of its own integrity. And there were just lots of references as I went through the different people that I look at, to our own integrity. And the sad thing is, with my small monitor, I can't look at your faces while I look at these other things. So I have no idea if you're going thumbs down, get her out of here, leave us alone. Anyway, that's what I had to share for the moment.
We never think that, Karen. Never. We always appreciate what you bring to this conversation. And now I'm sitting here, I'm writing notes going, okay, I got to look up these early women masters to see what you're talking about and get a copy of that, what you just read. That's awesome. Thank you.
I'll hop out here real quick. Good morning, everybody, by the way. I'm just... Today was an excellent day to be sleeping in, so I took advantage of that. The Tao talks mainly about this balance that apparently is, about this hidden power, this hidden interwoven energy that flows between all things in the universe, apparently, and I don't think we can really hope to fully grasp it, but from kind of a humanistic standpoint, I think we're all kind of looking for that balance, and if we don't see the balance in our environment and in others, we tend to, we change our expectations upon what we see and how life plays out for us. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I think I could probably think back to certain times in my life growing up where I, had expectations and they weren't, abnormal expectations, but they, just in a certain instance, they didn't play out the way I wanted them to, and so we sort of, at least for me, I sort of, said, well, fine then. I'm going to play by your rules, and let's see how this works out for you guys too, And then, of course, there's this absence of that giving feeling, of wanting to help others, and either you can tell when you start taking your energy out of a group, out of a situation, and just letting that group be the way they're going to be, you can tell that there's an absence. I know for you, there's such great loving energy coming out of each and every one of you that I'm sure you feel that when you interject your energies, there's an actual reaction to it. And when you don't, you almost feel that there's that void. And for me, I tend to sense that void, and I want to add to it. I want to add, whatever good energies I can. And the expectations, gosh, I mean, I think we can't go through life without expectations. I don't. You can't not have expectations of others and not expect people to have expectations of you. We have to communicate our expectations. We have to communicate what we think the expectations of others are on us. If we can stop for a second and realize that, that those expectations are there, and that maybe we don't have, maybe we don't know everything. We can't read people's minds we don't know what people are thinking all the time. So we have to sort of, we have to ask, hey, in this situation, do you think this? And just so you know, I'm doing this because of this, and let people know what we expect of them, so they can fulfill that expectation. And not that they have to fulfill it, but we can give them the opportunity to. And giving without expectations and just continuing to give and give and give, and then you feel like at the end you're drained. You're zapped of all your positive energies, and you need a recharge. And if you're not around the people that if you're not around people that can actually recharge you, and in a way where they are willing to do that on a regular basis, and I think we're just around the wrong people. We need to change. We need to change who we are hanging out with, and then we also can encourage those that we do interact with on a daily basis to understand what our needs are, and what we hope to give back in return, so that kind of everybody's on the same page. I think I have been in situations where or relationships both men and women there, where especially if you're of a giving nature like Catherine is, where we just kind of feel like that's our just the way we do things. It's sort of a reaction. And we more so have to put more energy in holding ourselves back than actually giving of the positive energies. So I mean, to try to wrap it up, this balance that we're looking for, not only looking forward in ourselves, but are also looking forward in the relationships that we have. And I think that if we're going to say, have these expectations that we say, well, this is a deal breaker if this doesn't happen, then we need to let that be known. But we also need to realize that some of these expectations aren't deal breakers, and they're just, hey, it would be nice if it would be this way. We can also communicate that as well, so I don't know, just trying to pull this all together. This is such a universal type of a understanding, with the Tao being so interwoven and so, it doesn't understand, or it doesn't take into account good or evil. It just is, and lets things be, and it nourishes wherever those things go. It doesn't say whether it's right or wrong. And as humans, we're looking, well, these people are doing bad things. How can the Tao be working in their life? But those people who's got off into a different path because that balance wasn't there for them, when it counted. And so they said, okay, well, if I'm not if creating balance in my life isn't, and having expectations of others creating balance isn't the way to go, then I'm just not going to be balanced. So I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, and regardless of how it makes people feel. And then I don't know, but I think those people are probably going through their entire life, the rest of their life, looking for this balance that they pushed away in the beginning. So I'm not sure, but I want to come out and I want to hear what you guys think about that.
I think,
No,
oh, go ahead, Chris. Jump back.
no, that was good. That just made a lot of sense. I was pulling together a lot of the thoughts of the verse. Made a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this hidden virtue, is this hidden virtue only in the Tao, or is it within us, or is it something we can pull out of ourselves through our relationships, or maybe just through meditation? I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Well, then that's the thing. Like, isn't the virtue kind of in honoring the Tao? And it seems like sometimes, I mean, like you said, people, I mean, it's not just that people have different paths, but sometimes it seems like people are respecting life or going their respective way, like in a natural or virtuous way. And then it seems like some people will be, they'll do something that doesn't seem acceptable. So I'm a little bit confused about, I guess the Tao is like everything, but it's hard for me to see how when people are doing things that are unacceptable or against their nature, and I guess nature is everything, but that is the way. It seems like the way is there's kind of a right way to do things, and I guess you could say there isn't a wrong way to do things, but there seems like there's right choices and wrong choices to some extent. I don't know. So sorry for the confusion.
A couple years back, or I don't know, years ago, I can't even remember when it was, a while back, I read a book called Conversations with God. I don't know if you guys have read that or heard about it or whatever. And there's part in there where God is talking to Neale Donald Walsch. She's the one that wrote the book, but God is the one that's narrating it through him. Basically, they're having a conversation with each other, and God's like, dang it, what is wrong with my brain this morning? I keep losing my train of thought. I may have to come back to this one. Maybe I'm having a weird thing going on, and it's like, no, you can't say that right now. They're not ready for it. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever it is. Dang it. What was it that he was saying? Oh, man, exactly. Well, I come back around to the other thought that I remembered from earlier. Okay, you know how, okay, I know I'm going to go off another tangent. We'll come back to this one, I'm sure. What I remembered from earlier was when I was talking about one of the other things that came up for me. And you know how we talk a lot about how emotions are indicators, like with when Catherine, when you're talking about Byron Katie's work of Is It True? And when your emotions are making you feel bad, is that you're going and saying, ask the question of, is it true? Because what's happening is that these emotions are causing you to feel bad because you're not following the truth, right? And you're feeling negative because you're not following this truth. And so when I was thinking about guilt, it kind of popped up in my head. I'm like, wait a second, guilt feels bad, right? And when somebody's sitting here trying to push expectations on you that you aren't feeling good about, this doesn't feel right for you, then you feel bad because you're not living up to their expectations or whatever. But my thought was this, is like, what if that is just an indicator that you're not going down. That feeling of feeling bad isn't that you're doing the thing wrong or you're not doing what you should be doing, but it's actually a feeling of disagreement with that expectation, and that you don't need to go on the path of what those folks are expecting from you, but you actually need to follow your own path, because you wouldn't be feeling bad. You wouldn't have that negative feeling in yourself if it wasn't trying to indicate something to you that, no, that's wrong, because you feel bad because you didn't do whatever it was that they wanted you to do, when actually the reason that you're not doing it is because it's not right for you. So that was, sorry about that. I'm sorry. I know I'm like going all over the place chronologically in my conversation, but that was what I remembered from earlier. And Jason, I wanted to thank you for bringing up the communication aspect of expectations, because that is a huge thing right there, is being able to communicate your expectations, because then when you bring it out in the open and you say, this is what I would like, and if that doesn't feel right for the other person can say, okay, well, I appreciate what you're asking of me, but that isn't right for me. Then you can decide, okay, can we still work this out and move along a path together, or do we need to go our separate ways because we can't? I feel like, and I don't, wrong is the wrong word, but that's what we have. We have good, bad, wrong, right. Those are our words that define what we think. And, I feel like it would be wrong for us to keep pushing at this other person because we want something. But yet that other person, that's not in alignment with who they are and what they are as a human. And so that's when we start getting into all of these conflicts, is when we want something from somebody that they aren't in alignment with as a human, as their heart singing, as their soul, as their whatever. And especially it happens when we don't communicate with each other. That's huge. So thank you for bringing that up, Jason. I appreciate that so very much. And I'm sure that my other thought will pop back into my head when you guys address it again. It'll come back in. Sorry.
Hey, I'm just saying my manager should have called into work if she wasn't going to show up yesterday, okay?
Sorry, I had to fall off there for a second. I had to take a phone call. But I heard this expectation thing still going on. And about communication. I've been listening. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Alison Armstrong. She's very much about like the different communication patterns between men and women and how to, talk to a man in the right way and stuff like that. But she talks about expectations versus accountability, rather than using this expectations like being accountable for the other partner. And like, I guess you were saying, Jason and Samantha, about, communicating our needs and what, we may expect from somebody in a relationship. And if they can meet it, then they can. And like you were saying, Samantha, and then if they can't, then you have to say, is this really a core need that I need to have met? And if so, then we need to, move on perhaps. The communication is huge, because a lot of times if we don't share that, and I think for a lot of people, that's a very vulnerable place to be able to share what they're needing or what they may want from the other person in the relationship. A lot of people don't communicate because they're afraid that the other person may say no, or I can't meet that. But then, trusting, which is the hard part, is that if they can't meet it and they don't want to, that we can still move on, and if we have to, and trust that there's some other way for that need to be met, or maybe we need to meet it ourselves, or some other energy out there will meet it for us. But having to let go of either that person or that idea, or I don't even know where I'm going anymore. I'm blabbing. I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, all good points. Thank you.
Oh, I had the thing came back to me, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so, and I don't know why this happens. It's weird. Okay, so anyway, we were talking about right and wrong, right? The what's right, what's wrong. I think that was kind of what you guys were asking. Okay, good. And in the book, Conversations with God, Neil's having this conversation with him, and he's like, this right and wrong thing, what the heck, And God says to him, he says, I'm not sitting here telling you one thing is right or one thing is wrong. What I am telling you, however, is you say you are trying to achieve this blah, 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 whatever it is. You're trying to achieve happiness. You're trying to achieve world peace. You're trying to achieve harmonious living. You're trying to achieve, environmental friendliness, whatever it is. You say you want this goal, but yet you're doing all this crap that is taking you over here. Okay? So if you keep going down this path, then you're going to end up with this crap. Okay, so this is what the difference between right and wrong is. It's if you say you want this and you keep doing that, that would be wrong, right? If you say you want this and you keep doing this, then that will be right. And the thing is that whatever this is that's out here, this goal is different for every single solitary person and being on the planet. And so the difference between right and wrong is different for every single person, depending on what goal it is they ultimately want out of life. However, my thought on that ultimate goal and purpose of life, I think that ultimately everybody just wants to be happy and enjoy life. And if we say that we want to be happy and we want to enjoy life, a lot of that is letting go of all these expectations and these things that we think that we want from everybody else, when the truth is that happiness is inside of ourselves. And if we just follow that happiness inside of ourselves and quit putting all this pressure on ourselves to perform or be or do or blah, 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 and just be happy, then whatever comes at us is irrelevant. It's just we're happy in the moment, and we can handle this because I'm happy. I can handle that because I'm happy. I don't know. That's my thought on the whole right and wrong thing. So.
You put it all together there, Samantha. Believe it or not, put it all together. That made a lot of sense. That was good. I don't know what anyone else is thinking.
I think I know what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I found something else interesting that I was amazed about. I'm always amazed that there's so many things I don't know. I just happened onto a site that had this philosophy section, and I thought I'm going to check that out, and it had this question I'd never heard of. What is the Euthyphro dilemma? Now I'm going to take a second here and look at your faces. Anybody know what that is? Anybody heard about that? You heard about it? Oh, okay. Catherine was looking really wise, and I thought for a moment, sorry. Anyway, it comes from Plato, and it's basically, are moral acts willed by God because they're good, or are they good because they are willed by God? And the dilemma is, if the acts are morally good because they're good by nature, then they're independent of God, and morality somehow exists apart from God, which raises questions about how moral absolutes can exist as independent abstract entities apart from a divine being, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this guy that's taking a look at this says it's actually, this dilemma is actually a false dichotomy because it only proposes two options, where there's a third, and that is that good is based on God's nature. God appeals to nothing other than his own character for the standard of what is good, and then reveals what is good to us. Both of these situations, both of which situations? Ignore, oh, okay, in the dilemma, ignore the biblical option that good is a revelation of God's nature. In other words, God is a standard of what is good. He's good by nature, and he reveals his nature to us. And as I was saying, I had been looking at all these different translations of verse 51, and I had totally gotten that from everything that I looked at, that it's the nature of the Tao that, is simply the way. And just provides the way for all of us, and we fall into our circumstances, and that affects us and all that kind of stuff. But the Tao isn't saying, hey, you're good, you're bad, you're right, you're wrong, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing. It's just, it's just there to nourish and to provide the virtue, provide the good for us. And so that's kind of what I got out of all of that. I just really felt good about this verse until I came here and saw you folks.
Oh, we messed it up for you? Come on.
You didn't mess it up for me.
One thing you said in there of God provides the virtue, and the virtue, the thought that came up for me when you said that was like that virtue is not like this, I don't know. I don't even, it's like the virtue is the essence in which we all are in, or we are all of, or we are the essence of the universe per se, like the ether, the substance of. That was just a thought that popped into my head of what the virtue
as you
might
were
be.
trying to
It's just-
describe that, I was picturing being in the womb, the amniotic fluid, the whole thing, the whole, the whole cushy bubble float around like you're in outer space, gravity doesn't affect you, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. Like it's what we all are. It's what we're in, existing in. If we are in anything, it's just it's the essence of everything that we're able to exist in.
Our person that's new here doesn't have things muted. I wonder if she doesn't want to say something.
Yeah, jump out, Marcia. Oh, you're remuted. There you go.
I'm unmuted now. Well, it's been a really interesting conversation that I've been listening to. I gotta say I appreciate all the perspectives that I'm listening to here. I guess for me, when I think about the Tao, I just think of it as life. It's life. We're in life. Let's appreciate life and everything that it has to offer, because we're here to experience life. We're not here to judge it. We're not here to do anything but live it, and live it to the best of our ability, with whatever circumstances come our way, with whatever our situation is at the present moment. If I stay in the present, then I'm able to live it. I'm able to experience the fullness of my life that way. And I'm an intricate part of the Tao. And to me, it's as simple as living your life. And that's it. We're part of it. We're part of life.
Absolutely. Thank you. You guys, I just looked down at the clock and it is 11:05 Eastern time. And so we got to wrap things up. So everybody share a final thought, and then we'll be wrapping up for this week.
That was my final thought. Welcome to life and the way of the Tao.
I'd like to share my name. That's sort of silly. In the Kundalini yoga tradition, you can get your spiritual name, and I got mine a couple weeks ago, and I'll show you it because it sort of goes along with this chapter. It's Puran Amrita Kar, and it means the sacred one who feels perfect and complete within herself when she experiences the sweet nectar of God's grace. So everyone gets a name. I don't know how they pick it, but based on your birthday and your name and all this other stuff. So I think it goes well with this verse that, feeling perfect and complete within ourselves always when we are in touch with God or the Tao, then there's nothing that isn't there, but it's all here. It's all within us. So that's it. Thanks for letting me share my name.
That's great. And before I lose this thought, I'm going to jump out and say that. Well, I love that. I love what you're talking about with your name there. Sandy. Expectations. Let's, like what Samantha was saying about happiness, our expectations, rather than living your life moving from expectation to expectation, hoping that it brings you happiness, realize what, like Samantha said, that the happiness comes from within us. We just choose to seek that out. That's all I had to say.
That's good. Yeah, that's going to be my goal, Jason. I like that. As long as my manager shows up today at work.
Maybe you have to change your expectation to you're being the manager or something.
I was about to ready to yesterday. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Yeah.
Love you too, Chris. Well, I'm glad you brought up Katie's work because, or Byron Katie, I call her Katie, but because we get these expectations and there can be true suffering that comes from having expectations that aren't met and torturing yourselves with thoughts. And if you can just learn those 4 questions, is it true? Is it absolutely 100% true? How do you feel when you think that thought? And how do you feel when you don't think that thought? Can take you out of any suffering that I have come across so far. So those are the best 4 questions to ask, and I think they can remove the guilt, because most of it is self-induced. Suffering is self-induced. The guilt is usually self-induced. I mean, you can have somebody that tries to guilt you, and that actually happens to me quite a lot. And so I need to look at maybe where I'm doing that in my life, probably in relation to my son, but when people come at me like that, I immediately, there's resistance. And like you were talking about, when you're feeling guilty or you're feeling that resistance, it's not I don't believe that it's because what you're doing right then is wrong, other than you're telling yourself a lie. It guides us into integrity and truth when we ask those questions and really figure out that most of the time we're just lying to ourselves about something and getting like all worked up. And if we can come back to the basics and just, is it really, really true that person thinks that about me, and now this and that's going to happen, and blah, 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 and it's just all this head trip thing that we go on. So thank goodness for books like this and Zoom, where we can get together and have discussions like this. And because guilt, I don't think guilt serves anybody. I think it's one of those emotions that, maybe it can make you strive to be a better person, but as far as just staying in that guilt emotion, it's just not a good one. I think it's a great indicator, though. I think it's an awesome indicator. Thanks, everybody, for coming. See you next week.
All righty. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Aloha.
I'm always so glad to get together on this. I just looked forward to Saturday. I keep saying, what day is it? It's kind of like Jason. Is it Saturday yet? And I love you guys a whole bunch. I just appreciate feeling that I have a group that, we can laugh together and share and kind of figure things out. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Aloha.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us this week. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, I just want to say thanks. We appreciate you. And if you want to join us and jump in on this conversation, you can find the link to do so at zoom.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. And you can find all of our recordings on YouTube if you look for my mindsetmasterycollective.com or Saturday Morning Mastermind. Whatever, either of those, you can find us. And please like this video, share it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on the web, comment, join us next week at 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday mornings. So that's it. Have a great day. Awesome and amazing weekend. Thanks everybody for joining us. And that's all for now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.